Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th episode of Punishing Dumbass Openings. Just played one game, 20-minute, and lost it, and just thought I'd pick up another one. And let me take you through the game. It's pretty interesting. So I play e4, my opponent plays the Pirc Defence with d6. So I figure let's grab the centre. And he plays c6. Right? C6 is a slightly odd move. I mean, it takes a square away from this knight. It doesn't help a bishop come out into the game. So already on the odd side. I play knight to f3. And now f6. So he's moved Freddy as well. Okay. Remember, the four pawns that can release bishops are these two light squared ones and these two dark squared ones, right? So currently he's moved 1, 2, 3 pawns and he's released only one bishop because this dark squared bishop is still trapped in. So quite what he's doing here, I have no idea. So I carry on with development, knight to c3, and now he pushes a 4th pawn to the 6th rank. Again, doing nothing to release his pieces, and all 8 pieces are still on the back rank. I, meanwhile, have 2 pieces out on the board. I want to get my bishop out, want a castle, lots of good things. Out comes the bishop, looking at this knight down here, right? I figure, look, if fellow me lad here has ideas about castling short, he can think again. Okay, so now finally he brings out a bishop into the board. Okay, so I just go ahead and castle. Right, and you know there's this saying in chess that the threat is often more effective than the execution, right? So here, what he's got is a pin on my knight, right, which is a bit of a pain, and then he just removes the threat, right? So if you've seen my recent video on unnecessary attacks, this is a pointless capture. So yeah, he takes my knight, right? So he's removed the defender of this pawn, that's it. But he allows my queen to come out into the game. Simple as that. And now, just for good measure, he decides to throw another pawn out into the board. So where's he going to castle, right? So I figure, yeah, I've got some options here. I could drop the bishop back, I could stick my bishop here, but I just decide to capture his knight on g8. Force the rook to recapture, and now the king cannot castle short because the rook's already moved. Okay, so where's the king going to go? Is he really going to come here? So let's see. Right, so now queen to h5 check. There's only 2 legal moves. No piece can block, so he either has to move his king here or he has to block with the pawn. He blocks with the pawn, I grab h7. Okay. Now the rook comes up attacking the queen, because obviously the rook itself is under attack, and the rook can't come here. There's only one move, has to go there. Queen just drops back now, and now he develops a knight. I develop my bishop, connecting my rooks, so I've now completed development, and he moves his queen to c7. So I'm thinking, hang on a moment, is he actually thinking of castling long? Is there anything we can do about this? So I decide now that it's time to bust open in the middle, and this is definitely a strategic principle to bear in mind, right? I'm castled, my king is nice and safe in his little corner here. Black's king is not safe there. So what I need to do is I need to break open in the middle of the board, open up space and lines around Black's king as soon as possible, even if it costs me material, right? So here, this square is actually attacked once, twice, and then the knight, and then the queen. So he's got 4 attackers on there. I've only got 1 defender, but I don't care, because what I'm doing here is I'm trying to open up the middle of the board. Knight takes, and now bishop to f4 pins the knight. Knight can't move, or the queen will fall, right? Now the knight could move here with check. That's the only real option, but then queen takes, and, you know, he's just lost the knight. So now my opponent decides to play king to f7, and I simply play rook e1, right? So now I'm threatening to take the knight. Queen can't recapture because rook will take the queen. So if I take the knight, he's going to have to capture with this f-pawn, giving himself doubled and isolated e-pawns and an isolated g-pawn. It's just absolutely horrible now. Okay, I grab the knight, pawn recaptures. Okay, so now he's got this bishop that has still never taken a step in the game, right? And I have a knight. Now, knights aren't much use attacking kings when they're on the wrong side of the board. So this knight is going to try and have to make progress somehow to be part of any attack. Note that material is even here, right? We've both lost 3 9 pieces and 2 pawns. However, my king is safe, relatively safe. Okay, so I play queen e6 check. King moves on to here, and I thought for a bit on this, like a minute and a half, and I decide that, I mean, there are a few options, right? One is I could grab this pawn, okay? But then we've got a situation where we might have an exchange of queens, and I know that my position is better, right? But I would only be 1 pawn up at that point, right? And yes, he's got isolated pawns, but he does have a bishop. He has a high-speed, long-range piece, whereas I have a knight. And I just didn't think that that was a conclusive advantage for white. So I decide that the rook lift, maybe play rook h3, forces rook across, something like that. He plays his rook to h7, and now I start to bring in my knight. Knight e4, bishop comes to attack the rook, rook h3, kind of pinning the bishop on the rook there. So now I miss a trick actually, because he pushes g5. And what I didn't notice is that the pawn, this now creates a discovered attack by the queen on the bishop. I could simply have grabbed the bishop with my rook at this point, and it's probably game over. Okay, but I missed it. So I bring my other rook across to the e file with ideas of maybe moving this knight, and then I could still go after that pawn. And now we have queen to a5, and the queen stays on that square for a rather long time, right? Now, I have to be aware that if the queen gets the opportunity to capture that rook, it's checkmate, right? I'm back rank mated. However, now starts the longest sequence of checks. Yeah, I think every move from this point, this is move 22, right? There's another 20 moves, and they are all checks. So, let's start. Queen takes e5. I'm up a pawn, hurrah. Check. Bishop blocks. Rook takes rook. Check. King takes. Queen to f5 check. Another option is knight takes here, right? But I have to give check on every move, otherwise there's a possibility of this, right? Now, king retreats, so queen h3 check, king g8, queen back to there. Now the knight takes the pawn with check, king has to go to the back rank, queen h3 again, okay? There's only 2 possible moves, block with the bishop and duly lose the bishop and fall for a mate in 2 probably, or king to here, okay? Now, queen h7. King f8 is forced. Knight e6 check. King to here. Knight takes bishop. Check. King to here. Queen to there. Queen to there. Now this is an interesting position. Very interesting position. I still have to watch out for this, right? And yeah, at any point I could have just pushed c3. I could have pushed one of these pawns, give my king an escape square, but I don't have to do that yet because I've got my opponent on the run. So queen e3 check. Okay, now he's only got 2 options here. One is he can go on to the 7th rank, in which case I simply grab this pawn and I've got a rook to come in. Okay, or he has to block with a pawn. So he blocks with the pawn, but then queen to the 6th rank, and he has to go to the 7th rank anyway. Queen takes e7 check. King onto the back rank, and now we can force checkmate. Okay. If you want to stop the video, this is actually quite an interesting puzzle. Okay. So I grab this pawn anyway. King to here. Rook check. Right. There's only So king can't go here, 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 here. So the only possible moves are king to b8 or queen to c7, in which case queen takes, and it's all over. So the king moves onto the back rank. Okay. Now, my opponent was actually being unsporting at this point. He took 4 minutes over this move, right? There's only 2 legal moves. King there, or queen blocks and gets taken. But he spent 4 minutes. Okay, so you can see his clock's gone from 11:43 to 7:47. All right, I have actually blocked him for being unsporting. Now, queen to d6. Remember, the rook is covering all of this. The king is in check. There's only 1 legal move. Well, in fact, no. Queen could block again and also lose. So, king to here. Now, queen d7. And the king has to retreat. The king has to go back. And then queen b7 is mate. There wasn't another alternative finish, which would be rook here with check. And the only way out would be to block with a queen. Rook takes queen, checkmate anyway. But this is quicker and simpler. But what an awful opening. What a proper dumb-ass opening. And this really has to go down in the record books as a proper dumb-ass opening. Because he's, you know, look at this. He's moved 4 pawns, right? And his dark squared bishop is still trapped in. He's removed both natural development squares for his knight. So I'm not quite sure what he was doing. This isn't the hippopotamus opening or anything like that. Because there you move these 2 pawns. I think the knights come in like that and something like that. But whatever it is, he should never play it again. It's a proper bad one. And then he swaps off his only developed piece. Okay, so look at the situation, right? White's just moved. I've got 3 pieces developed. Okay, now black develops a piece, so it's 3-1. Now I castle, so it's 5-1. Okay, because castling's worth 2 development score. And what is the point of this? Now it's 5-0 because he has nothing developed. I, however, have castled and I have 3 pieces off the back rank. I'm only 1 move away from completing development, and this is only move 7, right? So I can complete development in the most rapid possible way if it wasn't for this that I had to deal with, right? And then throw in a check and then grab some stuff, and, you know, now I've completed development on move 12. And he's still a mile away. I mean, he never castles. This bishop only, I think, moves maybe once in the whole game and then gets itself captured. Proper dumbass opening. Anyway, so look, if you're looking for hints on opening principles, don't do what black does. Okay? Yes, this is perfectly valid, right? And now I play d4, but from this point, pure dumbass. Okay? So there you go. I mean, this is doing nothing to let his pieces. He's blocking his knight, right? This pawn and this pawn don't help your bishops to come out into the game, right? You should only make pawn moves in the opening phase if they support your development, right? Now look at my pawn moves. d4, e4. Now this bishop has freedom. This bishop has freedom, right? We've got loads of options now. My knights can come out anyway, because that's the great thing about knights, and my queen can come out, right? So I've done all I need to do. I've done all the pawn moves I need. But dumbass over here just thinks that, I know, I'll move 5 pawns and still not be able to castle. So it's just breaking every opening principle in the book. And there you go. That's it. I'll keep making punishing dumbass openings as long as people keep playing dumbass openings against me. But there you go. Here's a lesson on exactly what not to do in the opening phase, particularly if you're rated almost 1400. But there you go. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you guys later.